over the weekend there's some significant results. Another one being down at Bournemouth because Wolves came calling, and of course Wolves left with the points. But this was Wolves under the guidance of Gary O'Neill, the one-time Bournemouth manager, who got a lot of sympathy in the game when he was somewhat surprisingly sacked by the new ownership there, in the person of Bill Foley, a gentleman I spoke to around the time actually of the sacking of Gary O'Neill. This was Foley on why Gary had to go.
We respect Gary. We respect his feelings. It was not an easy decision. We just felt that if we were going to be as successful as we believe we can be in this transfer market, and we're going to change the style of football we played, we needed to go a different direction. So I'm not happy about it. I don't feel good about having someone move on from a position within the club, but it was team first, and it wasn't just my decision. It was a decision made by the analytical staff and by football management. Our plan is to go with this coach and to give him every opportunity to be successful. And if it means at the end of the year, next year, we're relegated because we made a mistake, then I'll live with it. That's reality. But I believe we're going to be successful with this, with Andoni. I really do.
Simon, around that time, you liked the fact that Foley said, look, I'll take ownership of this. If it goes against us, I'll take ownership of the decision.
I didn't like it too much. I respected the reasons that he's been definite and come out and said about it, but I don't like what he said because I don't think he should be necessarily evolving himself specifically in the style of football. The real style of football is winning football matches for Bournemouth. What I did think was that despite the public sympathy for Gary O'Neill, I actually think he should be thanking Bournemouth, because without Bournemouth giving him an opportunity, which he repaid them, there's no parallel universe that Gary O'Neill was being priced into people's thinking as a Premier League manager. He now is. He gets the Wolverhampton Wanderers job because of the fortune of an opportunity, because one manager couldn't keep his trap shut in Scott Parker, got his consequences. Gary O'Neill steps in during a period of time that there was a takeover happening, and he gets the opportunity now to move from being a very nice bloke, Gary O'Neill, go from being from a backroom staff member that's part of Liverpool's setup, when in their under 18s and under 19s, and is now considered to be a Premier League manager. So I think you actually look at it the other way. Opportunity was created out of the Bournemouth situation rather than denied.
I wonder if you look at it the same way, Martin, because 4 months on from his sacking, many might suggest that Gary went down to the South Coast at the weekend and gave the owner, Bill Foley, a bit of a metaphorical slap in the chops. Gary O'Neill said post-match, no, this wasn't about me. It was about Bournemouth getting a result. But I think many still think it was a bit about you, Gary. This was Gary.
Just a really big win for us, of course, to win on the road, second time this year. Fixtures have been very tough for us. I think we've had the toughest run of fixtures. Saw a sort of article the other day, sort of ranking the fixtures, and we were right up there at the top with the hardest run. So, to have got 11 points so far is really good. To win away from home against a good side that will cause team problems is really good. But yeah, not about me or returning to AFC Bournemouth. Just a really good win for a group that making progress and working extremely hard.
He says it wasn't about him, but it was, Martin, wasn't it?
It was all about him. There's no other thought about this. It was about him. Simon is right in the sense that he was afforded the opportunity, but then you have to take that opportunity, and he kept them up. And it was interesting, Bill Foley talking about, it wasn't just his decision, it was the analytical staff that drives me insane. You get a couple of boys looking at a couple of videos and deciding that, this is the style of play we want to go to. It's about winning football games, Simon said. It's absolutely that. But it's interesting because it was about Gary. This was a game that I'm not so sure that he would have been looking forward to. I'm not so sure, because you concerned in case the opposition beat you out of sight, and they've been considered, the opposition have been considered right in their disposal of you. So I remember a situation myself. Leicester City, 10 games gone, couldn't win a game, had to go to Wolves, and Wolves were managed by Mark McGee at the time, who had left Leicester City under trying circumstances at the time. I've stepped in to try and do it, can't win a game to save my life. And I felt that particular night at Molineux, I felt it was all about me. I needed to win the game. I needed to win it to get some respite more than anything else. So the whole point is this year was about Gary. He's come up trumps. It's a big, big win for him, and well done him.
Well done him. I mean, Bournemouth, Simon, winless 9. The man he sacked comes back to beat the man he desperately wanted. As an owner, how easy is it to admit that you're wrong?
Well, this is a marathon, not a sprint. I wouldn't be sitting there saying, well, after 9 games, the guy's taking his time. I'd be looking at it going, okay, I've got a bit of egg on my face for this moment in time. And the way that the football gods work, a bit like when Hassan Hoodle got spanked 9 by Leicester, and then 4 months later he goes and beats Leicester 2-1 for part of his redemption. You wouldn't be surprised if this guy stays in the job and gets his philosophy across and gets the players to buy into what he's doing, or whatever their vision they saw in his managers, the reasons why they appointed him starts to manifest itself on the pitch. The next thing you'll know is you'll see Bournemouth go and beat Wolves at Wolves. But you won't hear that. We won't be hearing anyone saying, oh, does that prove that the owner was right?
We will highlight that.
I bet we don't.
If they come and do it.
After 9 games, do I think that it's been determined for Bournemouth? I think they're not a very good side right now, and I don't think he's done anything. I don't know what they saw in him. I don't know why they appointed him. I don't think that what the chairman or the owner said was particularly bright in terms of describing data analysts making the decision alongside him and wanting a style of football. I don't think that's the voice of an experienced football club owner in this country, because it's the same sort of dynamic as Todd Bowley was saying. And what it's going to do is open up the narrative for people to turn around and say, idiot American doesn't understand what English football involves.
No one's saying
how long
that.
did it take you to decide that Peter Taylor was not the answer to your...
I knew after about 3 months.
Did you?
But I knew after the pre-season tour, pre-season tour, because I've never seen someone so weak-minded and so prophetic towards doom. But I gave him 15 months.
Okay.
And watched a thoroughly disenfranchised and a sort of empathetic fan base lose all focus and move into the territory of absolute ambivalence.
So 15 months. So
yes.
You could say that you were probably disappointed with yourself that you didn't make the decision.
Disappointed with myself that I actually made the decision in the first place.
I mean, there's a tendency, and I would have thought this might come along for Foley, that they dig in more. Makes them dig in more and think, no, damn it, I've said it'll work and it's going to work.
Well, that's pricing into the thinking that a mature man that understands the benefits of making decisions and then reversing out of those decisions. He's a commercial man. He's made a business decision. Yeah. So he's not a child. So if he gets it wrong, I think that he'll pivot off it relatively quickly. And he won't just stay entrenched in a position. And I said to you when we discussed, he talks about, I'll take the responsibility for it. He won't like it if they get relegated. And he was very sort of laissez-faire about the idea that, if I get it wrong, I'll take responsibility. He won't like it. It won't be a responsibility that he's looking forward to taking when the landscape changes. And I know that I always make this sort of observation about Bournemouth fans going mild because of the nature of their way that they support their football club. They're valuable football fans, but there's a different feel in that part of the world. But going down out of the Premier League and having to take into the consideration the loss of revenue, the cost implications of it, and really going into your pocket again for no apparent benefit. It's one thing going into your pocket when you're fueling something that's going to go forward. It's another thing going into your pocket when you're actually fixing something. It's gone wrong, and all of a sudden you're paying for something that you didn't think you would have to pay for in the first place. Yeah. So I don't think it was the greatest move, but I do think that Gary O'Neill caught a wave with Bournemouth, did a really good job, got a group of players together that did a good job for him. I wasn't surprised that they took him out. Not as surprised as everybody else, but I could understand why other people were. And I do think that the half-empty, half-full glass, Gary O'Neill will be looking at a half-full glass. My word, I'm pinching myself. A year ago, if somebody told me I was going to be a pretty much well-thought-of Premier League manager and given 2 Premier League jobs in a year, he would have probably said, absolutely not.
I mean, if they lose to Burnley, get Burnley next at home. And Donny might be looking at troubled waters at that stage.
Yeah.
No?
I mean, I've seen Bournemouth 2 or 3 times this season. I saw them against Spurs, and I saw them on the weekend, and I don't think they're a particularly great side. Yeah. But again, it's early in this guy's tenure.